Well, the newest update to Pokemon Champions has not only brought the game to mobile devices, but also brought in a bunch of brand new Pokemon. With all the Mega Evolutions introduced in Legends EA, we got to have our fun with them there. However, since that game did not have abilities, Pokemon Champions is going to be the place where we get to discover them. So as I've said before, I'm not necessarily a competitive Pokemon person. However, today I'm going to take a look at the abilities we have for the brand new Mega Evolutions and discuss how I feel about them. Whether I think they're good fits in terms of my understanding of battling, or especially in terms of how it fits the themes and the lore of each Pokemon. So without any further rambling, let's go ahead and start off with Mega Raichu. And there are actually two different forms of Mega Raichu, those being X and Y. Mega Raichu X has the Electric Surge ability, which you may know as originally being Tapu Koko's ability, and I think that's an interesting idea, definitely going to give this Pokemon some interesting use, but it's also kind of fun giving it the connection to Tapu Koko because we know that the Pikachu line definitely has the power of Alola. For Mega Raichu Y, that is interesting giving it No Guard, that's one we normally see on fighting type Pokemon, though I guess it could be interesting because there are a handful of low accuracy electric moves, potentially making it a Pokemon that could hit hard, I guess. I'm really not sure what the consensus is on each of these Pokemon. Then we move on to some of the really exciting brand new Mega Evolutions with Mega Staraptor. And it actually has the contrary ability, something I was totally not expecting. Being a move that reverses stat increases or decreases, it actually gives some really interesting use to Staraptor because this is a Pokemon who basically introduced the move Close Combat. So throwing out a really strong fighting move that now is going to be boosted by Stab is also just going to increase your defenses. I really am struggling to figure out how exactly this fits with Staraptor in terms of the theme, but I guess if you look at it from that point of view, with Close Combat basically being its signature move, then it really is just a way to buff that move. Next up we have Mega Scolipede, which gets the Shell Armor ability. And of course it makes a lot of sense in terms of the design, because Mega Scolipede has this really interesting armor that's placed on it. However, at the cost of losing the hidden ability Speed Boost, I don't really know how that's gonna work out. Speed Boost is just like one of the best abilities in the game, so if anything, maybe this is a Pokemon much like Mega Blaziken that you're gonna want to use Protect on first before you Mega Evolve next turn, just so that you get that guaranteed stat boost. But otherwise, I guess sure it's gonna be protected, but generally with Scolipede, I guess the idea was you want to hit hard and hit fast. So yeah, this is a thematic win, but practically I'm really not sure. Next up is Mega Scrafty, which actually does get to keep its previous hidden ability, that being Intimidate, meaning that this Pokemon is going to throw out 2 Intimidates, one when it hits the field and then one when it Mega Evolves. Man, I guess the new drip is really scary. For more defensive Pokemon like Scrafty, this is actually kind of crazy, and I'm really surprised that they let it keep that ability. Again, just because of how it works with the Mega Evolution. Oh yeah, and I forgot this thing gets Fake Out too, they were kind of crazy with it. Next up is the final Gen 5 Pokemon today, Mega Eelektross, and it gets a brand new ability called Elevate, which basically acts just like Levitate, except that it also adds a stat boost to the Pokemon's highest stat when it knocks out an opponent's Pokemon. Interesting, and in all honesty I was expecting them to just keep the Levitate ability when evolving, because it is an ability so tied to this evolution line, but the fact that they decided to make a brand new signature ability and also add on a pseudo Moxie boost is kind of funny, and while it would have been interesting to get it something completely different, personally I think this is the perfect outcome. Then we move on to Mega Pyroar, which also has a brand new signature ability, that being Fire Main, and this is a really simple ability that just boosts the power of its fire type moves by 50%. Sure, it is one that makes sense, but the fact that this is limited to just the fire type moves and not all special attacks is kinda lame, and if anything it is kinda funny with them saying like, hey, we know this Pokemon needs to be even better, so let's just give it an ability that does something like that. I don't know, you could definitely find some good use for it and is going to be able to one-shot a lot of other Pokemon, but for the moment I am a bit unimpressed. Now it's time for everybody's best friend Mega Malamar, which also keeps the contrary ability, and I think that this was actually pretty predictable, because contrary is an ability so important to base Malamar that the Mega Evolution doesn't really try to mix things up, and if anything just kind of makes it bigger and badder. Though I think with this Pokemon having had such a strong marketing push leading up to the release of the game, it would have been really interesting to see what signature ability they could have cooked up in a similar way they did to Eelektross. Then we get the big bad Barnacle Mega Barbaracle with Tough Claws, and this is an ability that it maintains from the original form, and sure I guess it does make sense because this Pokemon goes even crazier with a bunch more claws, and for sure it is still going to be able to hit like a truck with its physical moves, but once again I feel like this is a Pokemon that could have used a signature ability, because a good amount of these brand new Mega Evolutions went to Pokemon that really could have used them, and I think especially with Barbaracle, a Pokemon that was really unpopular before, now having a chance to remake itself in a brand new generation and a brand new Mega Evolution. Once again, I would have liked if they did something similar to Mega Eelektross where they keep the same ability but basically buff it specifically for this Pokemon. Next up is Mega Dragalge, which gets the regenerator ability, something really out of left field and is very different from what it had before, either being poison based abilities or adaptability for the hidden one, which was more offensive, so now seeing it really lean back into that defensive side is really cool, because Dragalge was a Pokemon that was really high on its defenses, so now with the Mega Evolution giving it access to healing is really cool. And I think it kind of fits because this is a Pokemon that was definitely plant adjacent, being based off of a sea dragon which has an appearance that's supposed to disguise it inside a kelp, and now that we see that really brought to fruition with the Mega Evolution, I guess it all kind of fits. Then we have the good old boys with Mega Falinks keeping the Defiant ability. This was the hidden ability that it had before, and it's one that boosts its attack when another stat is lowered. So with Mega Falinks being a lot more offensive as opposed to its previous form, and the Pokemon in general just being based off of combat, that is a really good one that makes total sense. Because these Pokemon are not going to back down from a fight, their signature move is literally no retreat. And would you believe it, that actually brings us to the end of the Pokemon that we're going to discuss today. Obviously Pokemon Champions is still getting updates, and there are a handful of brand new Mega Evolutions that we're still waiting on, but for the batch that we got this week, I think it was a pretty good addition. I've kind of fallen off of Pokemon Champions. As I mentioned, the beginning of the year has been really strong for Pokemon and there's just a lot to play, so with this brand new update, maybe that's my sign to finally lock in. Though, let me know what you think in the comments below about all the Pokemon we discussed today and their brand new abilities. Tell me which one is your favorite, which one you thought was a disappointment, and which one you think fits the Pokemon the best. In all honesty, it's been a while since I made a video about actual Pokemon rather than just the human characters, so if you want to see more chats and discussions like that, go ahead and let me know as well. But if you enjoyed watching, also remember to leave a like, subscribe, and hype up the video as well if you're on mobile. But anyway, for the moment, let me get back in the kitchen and see what kind of team I can cook up. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, Stardrog314, Neoculture Mimikyu, Christopher, Charizard's Plushverse, Tooth, Benjamin, Jackson Stefaniak, Boy Kareem, Justin Dowes, Reclaimer, Cosmo Zero, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Starshooter, Koi13, Cheez-It62, GatorKid509, TF, Mathaclog947, Taijirai, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, as well as our members' Discord server, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is Gatorex, and I will catch you all later.